Okay, so the first thing that we do is we import the audio, and we can see there I've got 6 tracks lined up. So I'll just firstly play through and check that the audio is actually working. The first thing I do on this, I should point out, by the way, you're not going to hear it as good a quality as I hear it because it's just for recording purposes. It's a very long process about how we get it out of Pro Tools into recording, but it won't sound as clear as I'm hearing it through the headphones. But first thing I do is just check that the audio that is imported is actually working. So I'll give that a little play.
So welcome everybody to episode 11 of the White Shark Interest Group podcast.
Okay,
we
so
are
that's imported. And what I'll do as a first task is I'll just go along and I will just check that everybody else's audio works. So I'll find a little piece where here's Melissa. Just play there.
Might have been made by the researcher, Schroeder, I believe his last name.
Okay, so the audio's in, it's playing back, it's working. What you will see is there's a whole host of these little clicks and noises. It could be someone breathing, laughing, a chair creaking, could be anything when someone else is talking, or it could be a genuine somebody reacting, yeah, and so on. So I'm going to have to get to those and look at them. But as you can see on one like this, it can make for a very, very, very busy podcast. Or there's places, let's jump in here, where there's a lot of people talking and potentially overlapping and crossing. So if I play just a little section here, we've got Drew talking, but obviously there's something else going on. So let's see what this other noise is.
Because now I don't want to spoil anything. But if you read the
I
book,
think you're okay. I think we're past the spoilers, Drew.
Right.
But not long enough now.
You never know.
Normally there's just a couple of us talking, but when there's a few of us on, you've got 3 people all reacting to what he was saying there. So we're going to have to tidy all that up. But the first task is that the audio's in and it's working. Okay, so the next thing we have to do is what's called normalizing. Now normalizing is going through the audio, and you see you've got these levels here, and what I can do, I can sort of change the sort of volume, if you like, the gain up and down on a certain clip. So what we'll go through and look for is any that are too quiet. So here's one of Javier's here. I just might want to solo him out and just see what this sounds like.
It's okay. It's okay. You'll be fine.
Okay. See, so if I put that with another one, again, this is where we're overlapping.
I think you're okay. I think we're past the spoilers,
yeah,
Drew.
you see, so we're both kind of saying the same thing. So one of those is going to go eventually anyway. But I'm looking for, like where I'm talking here, this looks a little quiet to me.
Riding on the coattails of that.
So what I might do is I might take a segment that I think is too quiet and I might just go and up the gain on it a little bit. Or I might then, even within that, take this little piece here and section that out as a little piece that needs the audio turning up. So if you've got like this where this is quiet,
coattails of that for decades ever since.
I might want to up the volume on this bit. I'll go to an extreme so you can hear.
Coattails of that for decades ever since.
Because there's some bits where it's important what someone's saying.
Coattails of that for decades ever since.
But they were maybe just too far back from a microphone and you don't quite pick it up. So the bits I'm trying to do is normalize and get everything fairly even. And unfortunately, although there's automatic processors for that, you do have to kind of bite the bullet and go and look through that, which on an hour podcast can be the first big job. Now, along with that, we're also looking for where there's a spike in the audio. Right, here's one here with Javier. You see, we've got normal good audio levels. However, it suddenly goes from this kind of level to what's this thing here. So if I play this back, we'll listen to what this is.
Because Brody is like a very
right. So you hear there that boosted in sound.
Because Brody is like a very.
So that to a listener is going to hurt their ears or become really annoying if you keep hearing these spikes up in volume all the time, and you need to kind of lessen them out. So we do what's called normalizing. So the way to do this is I will look through and I'm looking for spikes in audio, and I will take one particular section like this. I'll signal it out. Just again, listen to what that sounds like.
It's like a very, not even like the
boost. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to reduce the volume for starters to get it down to the same kind of levels as what's left and right of it, and then also apply a blend between the two, which basically just will be less of a stark jump between volume levels where I have adjusted anything for the listener. So it kind of smooths that transition out between the two. So that now sounds like this.
It's like a very.
That's
It's like a very.
just to tell you what that was like before, to remind you.
It's like a very.
That boost. I now need to go and do that across somebody's whole track for the entirety of the podcast. Now, I do this by sight now because I just know what's going to be a spike, but you do sometimes have to listen. Very sort of anal to go through and pull all these little things out, but when you're listening to a podcast, you will notice these and it will annoy the hell out of you as a listener and potentially turn you off. So I can see on my track at the top here, again, got a couple of big spikes. Oops, soloing Javier. Let me take that off.
Is what it is. So.
Actually, Chris
Oh,
Fisher is
sorry,
a
it's
spot
Melissa.
burner.
That's Melissa.
So.
Actually, Chris.
Actually, it's that Jersey girl Melissa coming through. So that's gonna hurt your ears. So we'll section that out. We'll bring the volume down. We'll do a blend and play that back.
So.
Actually, Chris.
So.
Actually, Chris Fisher is a spot
So
burner.
spot burner. So get that out there. Bring the volume down. Merge the audio. Play that back.
It's a spot burner.
Perfect. So we've got to go that and do that with all of this, and you'll see there's quite a few. I wouldn't want anyone to ever think about that when you're doing the podcast, by the way, and think I better talk quietly, I better restrict myself. You do what you do, you just talk, we fix it afterwards, and that's how we keep it natural. Okay, so once we've got all those spikes out the way and normalized all that audio, like
Dirty.
Very dirty. Shark polish.
so we get lots and lots and lots of little cuts here and there, little blends. So the next thing we need to do, just to protect that original audio, is I duplicate every track. You'll see why in a second. So I'll just go through and duplicate these. So I've got a copy I can bounce back to as it was there. And just do that for each one. Never done so many on one edit. There we go. So now what I'm going to do is, because of all these little edit points that are going to make life difficult for me to manipulate the rest of the audio, what I now do is I'm going to take a whole track. So I'm highlighting all of me and I do a little magic button, and what that does is that re-renders it and makes it one long track for me. So we now have no cuts, no edits, but using all the normalized audio. Do that on one more as well. I'm sure this is very interesting for you. So I'm going to take, there's Melissa, and I'm going to do this. So now I can go and play essentially from scratch, but what I always now have, if I will go back, I can always go back and look at the original with all the cuts in if I'd made a mistake and I want to get something back out of there that I could and I shouldn't have, and so on. So I do that. I'm going to do that for the rest of the tracks. Okay, so now that I've got all them as like a fresh start, if you like, the next job I'll do is get rid of background noise. Now I do have tools to do this, but some things just aren't needed. So when someone's not speaking, so I can see here looking at, let's have a look, say at Anna's track. So this is, okay, so there's Anna speaking, which sounds like this.
It would still be just as frightening,
Okay,
because
but when Anna's finished, about here, we see now that when she's not speaking, because someone else is, in this case Melissa, so if I play from here.
Finn.
We all know fear sells. You know,
Yeah.
whether it's a headline.
Okay, so
for
while
an-
someone else is talking, we've got all this basically just background chaff, background noise, which if I solo out sounds like this.
Finn.
So little clunks and clicks. Okay,
Yeah.
yes, we want that. There's lots of these little noises. Impossible to avoid them because we're just sat, it's recording audio on our own computer. You can see another one here if I just highlight Javier at this point. So Melissa's still speaking. Just about, where are we? So just here, I can see that Javier says something, but after that...
Yep.
Okay, so we want to get rid of all that stuff. So what I would now do for each track is I will go through, and where somebody's not speaking, I'll literally just take that chunk of audio out. Because although I've got tools later that can get rid of background hiss, background noise, if I don't need that piece of audio and I just need when someone's talking, then we get rid of it. So if I just check from here, we'll see Javier says something.
It was
Yeah.
all about
Everybody says something. Let me solo that out. So he says, yep. But then after that, I really, really don't need all the background hiss and the background hum. So I can just start taking complete chunks of audio. Whoa! Take complete chunks of audio out. And that will save all the tools we're going to use later a hell of a job trying to get rid of all that noise for you. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So this is what we're left with after I cut out all the background noise, the chaff, the beeps, the creaky chairs, the phones, the whatever the noise might be, the coughs. I've gone through and cut out pretty much wherever anyone isn't talking. This is what we're left with, and that looks a little something like this. So that's what a whole hour 25 is with all the junk cut out. So what I'm going to do now is go and render that again and give me a clean slate so that I can again see just a whole long piece of audio. So with the last render done, that's where we're down to. So you now see again I've got a full piece of audio that I can manipulate and start cutting and pasting and chopping up. We haven't even got to the content yet. That's just the cleanup work done. But now we've got a bit of a fresh slate and we're ready to start editing the actual content. Okay, so now we're ready to start working on the content and actually, you know, cut out what we don't want and tidy the gaps up. So the first thing I notice is I play these, and I have to do this all together. We group every single track so that anything I do on one track, like say moving something along, when I've done it right, would actually apply to all tracks. Because if I go and make a chop in my audio here, say, and I want to make a little cut, I've got to make sure it does it to every single one so that they all move together. Otherwise all your audio goes out of sync. So anything I apply now, I've got to do it to all tracks. So the first thing I noticed while I'm playing this...
Largest White Shark specific group. Now...
Okay, hear that little breath there? Let me play that again for you.
Group. Now...
Just in there's a little breath.
Group. Now I am... Group. Now...
Okay, now, might seem like nothing, but that little breath there, if I just loop that.
Group. Now I am happy.
Yeah, it's a tiny little breath, just there.
Now...
But if you keep all those breaths in and the little pauses and things that aren't necessary, it does start to annoy you after a while when you listen to, you know, you're 20 minutes in, all you can hear is between sentences.
Specific group. Now...
So what I'm going to do is highlight all groups. I'm going to take this little section here. I'm going to delete it. And we're going to the shuffle mode where it brings it all together. Now if I listen now...
Specific group. Now I am happy.
See, no breath. I'll just take that back to how it was, which was like this.
Specific group. Now... Specific group. Now...
Now play it with the cut.
Specific group. Now I am... Specific group. Now...
And again, if I need to, I will blend that.
Specific group. Now...
I'll go along and I'll do that and have to listen for see.
Now I am happy to say well over 48,000 members. So thank you.
There's another one you see right here.
Members. So thank you.
48,000 members. So again, I'll take that little piece, chop it, and it'll sound like this.
Members. So thank you to all.
It's just unnecessary noise that will annoy a listener after a while.
Members. So thank you to all the members of the White Shark Interest Group. If you're not a member and you're listening...
There's another one. You can actually see some of these. Now, some of them are natural and you don't want to get rid of them. Like on Dave Pearson's episode where, you know, got a shark, attack survivor. You could hear his thought process by the fact he was pausing and taking breath. But when it's just somebody doing an intro and talking, you really don't need these little pieces in.
You're not a member and you're listening to this.
There you go. Not a member and you're listening. We didn't need a breath in between there. Let's play that again.
Not a member and you're listening to this podcast, because I know there's plenty of you out there. Head over to Facebook.
See, I don't think we need that in either. Because I say it every time, and I can cut that now. I don't think we need that.
This podcast, because I know there's plenty of you.
Because I know there's plenty of you out there. Why do I need to say that?
This podcast, because I know there's plenty of you out there. Head over to
Okay, so let's delete it.
this podcast. Head over to Facebook.
And then you've just tied it up and cut the chaff. So now it says, if you're listening to this podcast and you're not a member
And you're listening to this podcast, head over to Facebook and search the White Shark.
head over to Facebook. We just don't need all that extra stuff in there. So I'll keep listening.
And search the White Shark Interest Group, and you will find us. It'll ask you a question why you want to join this group. Give us a little shout.
Big gap there. Totally unnecessary. Get rid of that. Blend that together.
You a question why you want to join this group. Give us a little shout out and say it's because I heard the podcast, and we'll get you.
And
You a question why.
And
Give us a little shout out and say it's because I heard the podcast, and we'll get you.
we do not need and so I'm going to take that piece.
It'll ask you a question why you want to join this group. Give us a little shout out and say it's because I heard the podcast. Get you in the group there, and you.
Now you see I've cut something. It's supposed to say we'll get you in the group there, and I've missed something because I said and we'll get
Shout
you.
out and say it's because I heard the podcast, and we'll get you in the.
Yeah, it's just there, look. I've cut it too soon. So what I actually need is... Oops. What I need is there. Because I've missed the word wheel off. And we'll get you in the group. Just done it again, actually. Undo. It's there. Because that little piece there is where I say we'll get you in the group. So delete that. Let's try that again. Just do a quick blend so you don't hear a cut.
Shout out and say it's because I heard the podcast. We'll get you in the group there, and you
There
can
you go.
join the. Shout out and say it's because I heard the podcast. We'll get you in the group there, and you can join the other 48,000 members for discussion and debate. The photos
Hear that big in between? Don't need that, so listen to that.
members for discussion and debate. The photos, the videos.
Okay, so we don't need those pauses and breaths. I just want to know that little thing is there.
And debate. The photos,
The photos, so just get rid of that breath in between. Play that back.
and debate. The photos, the videos, and obviously
And obviously, we don't need that. Let's go in there, get rid of that.
those. Obviously,
I'm not even sure what this obviously bit is. Let's have a listen.
debate. The photos, the videos. Obviously, at this time of the year, there's a lot of talk about Shark Week, which brings
Oh, you see, this is just a mess now. This is messy. So what's going on here?
the videos. Obviously, at this time,
Obviously, do I need the word obviously? I just need, at this time of year, there's a lot about Shark Week.
The
is what I'm looking
videos.
for.
the videos. Obviously, at this time,
So at this time of year, does that start there?
at this time,
Yeah, so I can get rid of the word obviously for starters.
the videos. At this time of the year, there's a
This time, big pause, noisy breath this of the year. Let's hear that. Get rid of that section.
the videos. At this time of the year, there's a lot of talk about
It's not great, but it's better than it was.
the videos. At this time of the year, there's a lot of talk about Shark Week, which brings people in. If you've come through to this through Shark Week, then please do feel free to browse all the past posts in there and get some education.
Just cut these little gaps out that aren't necessary.
Our motto is to conserve. Our motto,
See, I messed this up now. Don't know if you remember when we recorded this, but I messed this up.
our
so
motto is to conserve.
our motto is, and then I say,
Our motto is
yeah, so I need to get rid of the fluff take and do the
get
good
some
one.
education. Our motto is to
Our motto, is it there? Is it that piece there, if I get rid of that?
get some education.
Our motto, I think it's there. I could scrub it and fine, but
And get some education.
you see I've cut the end off now. Get some education. So it's actually about there somewhere.
And get some education.
A little bit too much. Let's widen that out a touch.
And get some education.
Now this is going to sound terrible when I try and now put our motto is next to it. No matter how much I blend that, that's going to sound terrible.
In there and get some education. Our motto is to
It's not bad actually.
posts in there and get some education. Our motto is to educate.
Actually, that might work. Education. Yeah, I can just about
To
works.
browse all the past posts in there and get some education out.
What I might do is actually make a choice here to chop and just finish with
Past posts in there and
look at the past posts in there and then go straight into our motto is.
the past posts in there and get some education. Our motto is
So which means I can get rid of that piece and that piece.
the past posts in there. Our motto is to
Yeah, I think that works much better.
feel free to browse all the past posts in there. Our motto is to educate.
Much better. That was a really messy little area. So I've got to go and do this for the whole piece basically and come across other things that I think need editing out. So let's check some other ones as well. Okay, so an obvious point where we do some chopping is when we do the intros, you get these rather big gaps. As I've introduced people, we need to chop these up. Let you hear what that sounds like as another good example of a little fix we do.
Have our founder Dirk.
Hey, hi everybody.
So a big gap there.
We have our founder Dirk.
And you see, it's quite a simple one. We just want to take that out and do a little chop.
We have our founder Dirk.
Hey, hi everybody.
Just get rid of that hey bit before, so it sounds a bit more natural. Just hi everybody.
Dirk.
Hi everybody.
We have our founder Dirk.
Hi everybody.
And then you can see the next one is me doing the next bit of intro. These are nice easy chops, these ones.
Dirk.
Hi everybody.
We have back again. We have Javier.
¿Cómo es?
We have back again. We
So I
have
don't need the we have back again.
we have back
Again, we have Javier. So let's chop that.
back again. We have Javier.
A little noise there that we don't need.
Our founder Dirk.
Hi everybody.
Back again. We have Javier.
¿Cómo estamos?
Don't need that gap there. So
¿Cómo estamos? Buenos días, everybody.
We have
another chop in between. Get rid of this.
Buddy.
we have Melissa back on the podcast.
Hey.
Just a little chop there. Yeah, I mean these are easy. You can see the gaps where they need tightening.
Hey.
And we have, for the first time on this podcast, we have Anna.
So little chop there. I'll play this back once we're done so you can see, and I can instantly see there's my next chop. And then the last one will be Drew.
And we have the much requested Drew.
Yeah, a little breath just at the end.
Drew.
If I was to chop that too early, it would sound unnatural.
Drew.
So I'm actually going to leave that one this time. And go right there.
Just imagine I said something witty.
Now this is interesting because there's all this laughing after. We'll come to that in a second. Okay, so if I just play that back, what that sounds like.
One. Today, joining us, we have our founder, Dirk.
Hi everybody.
Back again, we have Javier.
¿Cómo estamos? Buenos días, everybody.
We have Melissa back on the podcast.
Hey.
And we have, for the first time on this podcast, we have Anna.
Hey guys.
And we have the much requested Drew.
Just imagine I said something witty.
So we'll fix all the audio levels later, but you can see that's just simple little chops. Makes it sound very natural. Makes it sound like everybody knew what they were doing and we weren't remote recording and everybody was right on cue and on time. It's all in the edit.
One.
Just as we come to this last piece now then. So again, ignoring the fact that the audio is different on Drew and Anna because they were on different mics. We'll come to that much later. Right now it's just about actual content. So
Just imagine I said something witty.
Good. Because
You-
I've not edited that out.
So there's a few things going on here. So they're laughing, we want this. It's
Something witty.
Good.
right, but I say good, I think there's absolutely no need for me to say that whatsoever.
Something witty.
Good. Because
You-
I've not edited.
So I can get rid, what I would do now is I get rid of that little piece of me saying good, I think I'm saying. I'll solo me out.
Good. Because I've
Don't
not.
need it. But I'm not going to shift everything. I'm just going to chop that little piece out. So just check that back.
Because I've not edited that out.
And I can see there that then Melissa is doing too. This will probably sound awful when you listen to yourself isolated in like a group chat or laugh or something. It just sounds ridiculously contrived. But so I'll just play it sounds like this. And then there's another one coming up. Okay, so then I can hear that Javier laughs, and then but there's something else there as well. So let's see what this is. Yeah, we don't need that, so I'm going to delete that out of there. Dirk's is clear, Anna's is clear. However, Dirk laughs later, but I'll come to that in a second. So let me just play this back with Drew on as well. So let's put everybody back on.
Just imagine I said something witty.
Because I'm not editing that out.
Oh, I see what I said. I said good because I'm not editing that out. Ah, okay.
Something witty.
Because I'm not
Now,
editing.
what does the listener want to hear? Because obviously you want to hear this interaction, but do I need all that in there?
Something witty.
Because I'm not editing that out.
I think I'm just going to go straight to it and get rid of the editing out sort of comment. So what I'm going to do here is get rid of that complete bit of me going into the next bit. Get rid of Melissa's second laugh. But what I might do I want Dirk to come in and say this?
That's a keeper.
So,
yeah, it shows more interaction. So I'm going to take this little piece of Dirk saying that that's a keeper. And I'm actually going to just bring it in at the end of those laughs.
Just imagine I said something witty.
That's a keeper.
Put that earlier. Because I think this is good. It shows interaction. It shows you get rid of the delays of remote recording.
Something witty.
That's a keeper.
Okay. And then go straight into whatever I'm saying next.
So, that is staying in. That is staying in.
So
Unfortunately,
again, with the overlaps, I was still talking and saying something else.
So, that is staying in. That is staying in.
Which we don't need. And I'm now going to go into a little bit where I say, unfortunately, we don't have Sarah today. So what I now need to do is get rid of that. Now I've edited that little section, is cut all of that. So we finish on Dirk. Shuffle that down. And that will now sound like this.
Drew.
Just imagine I said something witty.
That's a keeper.
Unfortunately, we don't have Sarah today.
Into me talking, so I think that's a good little blend.
That's a keeper.
Unfortunately, we don't have Sarah today. Sarah is off diving again.
Okay, so let's look what else we need to do.
Negative shark incidents. People didn't fear these animals at this time. They knew that they were there.
Do you hear that? Do you hear that? Listen.
People didn't fear these animals at this time. They knew.
Who's that? It's this little thing here. Whose name is that? Huh? Let's solo that out. Looking at you, Mr. Javier. Turn off that phone. Easy cut. We just highlight it out. Give it a delete. And it's gone.
These animals at this time. They
No
knew
problem.
that they were
I've
there.
sorted it. It's alright. So you also get little timing issues. Not much, just little things like this. So Anna's talking about whether the perception of jaws has changed. The perception of great whites has changed.
That much since those days?
No, not really. Yeah, I mean, just look at the words that they use to describe their episodes.
Yes.
They're still.
And you hear there's that little delay. So as a genuine reaction, Melissa says yes, but because of the remote recording, you see it's slightly after, so the timing is off.
Words that they use to describe their episodes.
Yes.
They're still.
And Anna does a breath in between. So what we'd do there is we would firstly just get rid of that little breath portion in the middle.
They use to describe their episodes.
Yes.
They're.
But then obviously Melissa's reaction is now overlapping with Anna's because of the recording method being remote. So I'm just going to take Melissa's yes and just move that further back.
Words that they use to describe their episodes.
Yes.
They're.
And then because of that, there's now a slight gap after that reaction. So again, I'm just going to bring Melissa's back in, and then I'm going to select all and just bring the whole thing that little bit tighter by getting rid of that little section. Play that back, see what that sounds like.
Words that they use to describe their episodes.
Yes.
You know, they're still.
So it's a natural, genuine reaction, but the timing, because of the recording method, can sometimes be slightly delayed. So there's a lot of little fixes like that we do.
This awareness about sharks, you know, if this movie was made today in its current kind of a format, we'd like...
Breath. It's a very natural thing to do in conversation, but on an audio recording, it can get a little intrusive to the listener.
Movie was made
Play that
today
again.
in its current kind of a format, we
See, very little simple edits. Just go in there, do a chop, and go in there, do a chop. Oh, slipped there with the mouse. Go in there, do a chop, do a little blend. So here's another good example of reactions and how I want to keep them. And this is different because I've never had this many people on a podcast before. But so this is Drew talking about a documentary coming out around the same time as Jaws.
Came out, which was Blue Water, White Death. If you look
right.
at the treatment of the white
And you hear after that, there's just a lot of us all kind of, yeah, and we can't really hear what's been said. Let's play that again.
or the first real shark documentary came out, which was Blue Water, White Death. If you look
right.
at the treatment of the white
So everybody's saying something, but I don't know what. So let's just hear what's going on there. So I say something, which is this. And then we've got Javier says something.
Best ever.
Best ever. So I can up the volume on these for starters, just so we can actually hear them. And then Dirk says something. So Dirk says,
Yes, right.
that's right. And because we're all talking over each other there, it's tried to restrict the audio, so you get this kind of noisy sound.
Yes, right.
What I'm now going to do, but at this time Drew has already carried on talking, as you hear underneath.
White Death.
Yes,
If you look
right.
at the treatment of the white sharks,
But I want those reactions in, so what I'm now going to have to do is shift everything across so I've got room for those reactions to be heard. And this might sound like it's manipulating the conversation, but these are just things that were said. It's just timing issues and overlapping and things that, you know, have caused this. So what I now need to do is make a gap and move everything out. And this is where it can get a little bit complicated. So I want that clip, and I want that clip, and I want that clip. But everything else I need to shift. And so what I need to do is single those out and select everything else. No, up until those comments. Right, there we go. 1, 2, no. Yep, 3, 4, 5. And Drew, and move all of that out. So I've created myself some room for reactions. So what I'll now do is I'm going to get rid of Dirk's one because the quality of the audio is not there, if you listen.
Death.
Yes, right.
Well, it kind of works in the background, but it's not clear enough, so I'm going to get rid of that. But I'm going to get Javier saying best ever,
Blue Water, White Death.
Best ever.
and I'm going to get myself saying
Blue Water, White Death.
Best ever.
If you look at the treatment
and then I want Drew to carry on, but now it's just a little bit, a bit of a gap because I've moved all these. So what I now need to do is make myself a little bit of space on these other tracks, and I will now have a little gap for when Drew carries on to the end of when I said So I'm going to again chop that down, play that back.
the first real shark documentary came out, which was Blue Water, White Death.
Best ever.
If you look at the treatment of the
And it's a natural lead in. So they're genuine reactions. It's just the timing was off, or everybody's talking, so you don't have the space to hear what was said. But thankfully, because of the way we record, and it records everybody's audio separately, gives me the flexibility to move things around like that and play around with the audio a little bit. One of the daunting parts of this, that I'm several hours in now, is when you're at a point and you look and you go, oh, we're 12 minutes into the show, and you're doing all these edits like here. I've got, again, overlapping sort of laughter, conversation, comments, reactions, and so on. All these little edits that we do, and then you kind of pull out and see how much you've got left, and you realise that you're not very far in. There's quite a lot still to go. So I'm 12 minutes in of what's currently with the cuts. There's about an hour 20 there, but by the time we've finished, and I'm going to skip along now because I don't want to bore you with all the details, but by the time I've gone through and edited and cut all the the breath, the content, removing things we didn't want to say, moving reactions around, everything to sort of make it a little bit tighter, it's hours and hours and hours, days worth of work. By the time you've done all that, you're ready to go to the next phase, which is to start fixing some of the audio quality. So fast forward a while and we'll come to that. Okay, so with all the edits in place, got to 1 hour and 3 just on content. So you see all these little bits are all little cuts, cutting out all those gaps, ums, content and so on. So when you zoom out from there, you can see that the whole podcast is full of cuts and chops and edits. So if I just jump in anywhere and have a look at what's going on with any of those, you see everywhere you look we've got some kind of cut or edit or gap reduction, or the comments moved to other places, and reactions and so on. So that's all the content edited. So the next step we're going to do is we're going to merge them down into single tracks again, so it's all nice and clean and clear. And then the next thing that I'll show you is we're now going to apply some cleanup onto the audio. So this is where I'll take somebody's audio, no matter how good it might sound, and just apply a few filters and things to clean it up a bit. So I'll use Javier as a first example. It sounds like this soloed out.
Agree with that, but I also think that on Orca, no matter how vicious they could be, not to.
Okay, so that sounds pretty good anyway, but the first thing we'll do is we add what's called a compressor, which just corrects some of the levels. And
agree with that, but I also think that on Orca, no matter how vicious they could be, not to human necessarily.
So you're not going to hear a noticeable difference on that. The next thing we're going to do is apply an EQ. So the EQ is just going to clean this up, make it sound a little fuller sometimes.
Agree with that, but I also think that on Orca, no matter how vicious they.
So I'm putting a low pass filter on, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust these levels until, if I think something sounds maybe a little bit like sort of mid-range, or there's too much bass, or the high end's too much, we'll clean it up. So you'll hear what that sounds like if I
agree with that, but I also think that on Orca, no matter how vicious they could be, not to
so you
human
can change that
have been historically,
to extremes.
But the way that they do what they do with their prey, they're so
I think Javier sounds a little bit mid-range, so I might just bring this mid-section
down. Agree with that,
down
but I also think that on Orca, no matter how vicious they could be, not to human necessarily have been historically, but the way that they do what they do with their prey they're so freaking amazing how the way they do. But nobody ever is gonna.
Or what I might do is actually go to some of my defaults and pick something which solidify male vocals, which will actually boost the bass and make it a bit.
Agree with that, but I also think that on Orca, no matter how vicious they could be, not to human necessarily have been historically, but the way that they do what they do with their prey they're so freaking amazing how the way they do. But so nobody ever is gonna see, like the same way they don't see a lion as a big freaking man eater, and they eat more humans than any shark would in years. But it's just a matter that the shark is just a different allure. I'm sorry, shark has this mysteriousness, and so thanks to everybody portraying it as killers, and it's easy for them to do so.
Boost on. So the next thing we're going to use is what's called a de-esser, or actually a de-reverb. So de-reverb will just take a little bit of the room noise out of it that might be there. So I'll turn it off to start with. So this
agree with that, but I also think that on Orca, no matter how.
And this is
agree with that, but I also think that on Orca, no matter how vicious they could be, not to human.
Go too harsh with this. So what you do is you just listen for just what's the reverb. So that's it's trying to process taking all the background kind of echo out, which can be quite large or can be quite subtle, and I can adjust that.
gonna see the same way they don't see
So if I do
lions,
that, that's too far. When I put that back on,
and they eat more
it's
humans
really
than any
restricting
shark
him
would
now.
in years. But it's just a matter that the shark is just
So
a
that's too
different
much.
allure. I'm sorry, just shark has this mysterious, and thanks to everybody portraying it as killers. And
so all I'm doing there is cutting out just that little edge of room noise.
And that's why Shark Week works, because that's what people want to get attracted to, instead of just the real science.
Okay, so the next thing I'm going to use is what's called a de-esser, and that will just take some of the type noises out of the audio. So
agree with that, but I also think that
I'm going to output just the sounds, see if I can find if there's a lot there, and the those kind of sounds.
This is right.
So you hear there. That's what it's going to now try and remove. It can go too far again, so I'm just going to take that down. It's just going to take, so if I take that back off.
But it's just a matter that the shark is just a different allure. I'm sorry, it's
very subtle, but it just takes that kind of sounds off the edge.
The science and the math and the statistics, but people just like to go into that's
normally like all you need to do on a good recording mic. So what I'll show you now is on one where it doesn't sound quite the same. So say Anna wasn't using the same microphone, so on Anna's we'll start from scratch and see what we need to do.
Shark Week, I think, just dramatizes every emotion.
Okay, so again, first thing we're going to do on Anna's is we're going to add the compressor.
Shark Week, I think, just dramatizes.
And what I'm looking for is that everything, when you're talking, hovers around about the
Shark
-3
Week, I
mark.
think, just dramatizes every emotion that the movie brought forward.
Okay, also going to go now and add de-reverb straight away because it's a little bit more echoey. So let's go and take some of that out straight away.
Shark Week, I think, just dramatizes every emotion that the movie brought forth. You watch some of these episodes and it's like Melissa said, it's the gaping mouth, it's all about the teeth.
And that is the amount of reverb I'm hearing in the background. So I'm showing you only the reverb there. Here it's quite an echo. So if I take it off.
Maybe I can hire off for commercials now. Shark Week, I think, just dramatizes every emotion.
That instantly is better for the listener. So now I'm just going to go and do an EQ again. So we'll start possibly with a preset, which is Solidify female
Shark
vocals.
Week, I think, just dramatizes every emotion that the movie brought forth. You watch some of these episodes and it's like Melissa said, it's the gaping mouth, it's all about the teeth, very extreme close-ups of the mouth. Listen to the music that they play. Whoever is narrating, they often have the dramatic gravelly voice.
It's very good. So we've now got an EQ on as well, and then we're going to go ahead and do the DS as well, which again should take some of the pops and clicks out. Hear those kind of noises.
Some of these episodes and it's like Melissa said, it's the gaping mouth, it's all about the teeth.
So I think that's
very extreme close-ups of the mouth. Listen.
Sounds more natural. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for the other mics. Drew's will be a challenge on this one because Drew's mic was very different.
Look at what happened during that time period, right around when Jaws came out. A little bit.
But you can hear a lot of the rumbling sound that you can hear on that is actually background noise. So this is it turned off.
Look at what happened during that time period, right around when Jaws came out. A little bit before the first real shark documentary came out, which was Blue Water, White Death. If you look at the treatment of the white sharks in that compared to how Jaws treats white sharks, it's night and day. It really is a complete 180.
So what we now do is go and add some music and the little breaks that I do. So I'm going to use an older episode here just so I can show this working. So the end result sounds like this. So welcome everybody to episode 9 of the White Shark Interest Group cast. And the way we're doing this, so I'll just move those out of the way, is I will take my music from we use our faders. We start mixing it. So what I'll do is I'll start that recording at a decent volume. So welcome everybody to episode 9 of the White Shark Interest Group. And I'll use the mixers to change the volume up and down. So welcome everybody to episode 9 of the White Shark Interest Group podcast. The other thing I would then do is I've got my harbour noises, which I like to add on, which is all the seagulls and the like. So if I just solo that out. And again, I'll just adjust the volume as I mix it, as I play it all back together. Hear those little bits of seagulls. Now here you see it's coming up. This is where it'll get a little bit louder. So the two of those combined together, so right at the very end. We'll see you on the next episode. I'll bring the music up and let it naturally fade out, and then leave the seagulls on. And add a bit of reverb and things to make that sound nicer. So I'll do those, and then what I do in the breaks in the middle, what I look for is I look for something about every 15 minutes or so. If it's like an hour podcast, about every 15 minutes or 90 minutes, something like that, I'll try and add something just to break it up a bit. So what I do is I find a place where I think the conversation's a natural pause.
But it is difficult, and like I say, everybody's got a right to their opinion, but there's a time and a place. Yeah,
exactly. There is a time and a place.
And here I've got the harbour noises. I've got a boat horn that I've added twice, and I've got some splashing water. And depending on the conversation, I'll put different ones in. So the one with Catherine Curzon, which was very much just like a chat, I put like coffee shop noises and coffee shop ambience in there. Added in some coffee shop ambience together with the cup of coffee, and then a boat horn. Put a boat horn in the background. So put the whole stuff together. Just get this idea that it's like in some kind of like harbour coffee shop, and then with a bit of music. And then fade all that back out just as the vocals come back in. So I'll do one of these little breaks, like every 15 minutes. So once we've got all of that done, and you've got your whole episode with all your breaks in, and your intro and your outro, and it's all cleaned up, we would literally just go and bounce that down to a file, to like an MP3 file. And then we would go across to our Podbean, and we would simply do a new episode, upload the MP3 file, put in all my details about what I want it to say, you know, the detail of all the links and what the episode's about. And then when I post that, within a matter of hours, that filters off to go to Spotify, iTunes, TuneIn, Amazon Podcasts, Google Play Podcasts. That basically goes off everywhere. So the next thing we'll do is just jump into Photoshop to make our little YouTube thumbnail. So I might take a picture like Rob, like that, and do flip on it because I need it the other side. Do a background removal, so I've got that available. I might take a picture of a shark breach like this particular one, and again do some cut and masking on it very crudely, just get that cut out so we can build a thumbnail from it. Do all that in Photoshop. So once I've got all these things in After Effects, what I do is first link the audio to this effect which does like sound bars. Just means that the screen's updating. It gives you something else moving on screen when you're watching it in YouTube. We'll put the background in with a ripple effect on. So you see that's very subtle ripple, but if I go fast you'll see what that's doing as a ripple. And then we start layering in. So I've done a shark cutout, I've got another shot cut out, both again with ripple effects added to them. I've got the title, which I can go in there and change the episode number. I've got my they've got my titles, and I can change the colour of these or move them around. So I'll change those per episode depending on what we want that to look like and where they sit. Move some of the content around, like the Rob cutout. Put a bit of drop shadowing effects on, stick all these layers in. Basically, you end up with a title card. So what I would then do is just go and render that out of After Effects. Now I've got my audio file and I've got my video file. I can go and upload them. Then the final stage is going to YouTube Studio and upload that. Put the thumbnail in place. Put all the tags I can think of in there. Sharks, Great White Shark, Shark Legend, Dirk's name, my name. Whatever it is for that episode. And all the links again. And set that up and publish that. And then on the day it goes live, and then you sit back and watch the numbers coming in. So hope that's of some interest to you. Appreciate that goes on for quite a while. What you see there in about 50 minutes, an hour, takes me about 2-3 days on and off in between. So it can be quite intense. And the one I'm doing now has got 6 people on it, and there's obviously a lot more work involved there. But generally, it's about 2-3 days to get an episode edited front to back, depending on the content. So hope that's of some use to you guys, and I'll see you on the next episode.